There's a moment when you catch yourself mid-loop and you think, God, this again? You already see the pattern. You've named the distortion. You could diagram the whole thing with a dry erase marker for an audience, and still your system is lit up like it's happening for the first time. That's the part no one prepares you for. Not how to name the thought or reframe the story, but how to deal with the fact that awareness alone isn't enough to stop it. This is Amara Strand, and welcome back to my podcast. Today, we're talking about thought loops and why they still hold power, no matter how self-aware you are. Every time you find yourself caught in a thought loop, it feels like it's happening to you. But if you peek under the hood, that's not what's going on. What's actually happening is you're funding it with attention, with emotional charge, with the power of your imagination. Thought loops feel powerful. When you experience them, it's like they've got you in their grip. But the thought loop isn't draining you because it's powerful. It's draining you because you're paying for it to continue every time. And the payment isn't symbolic, it's energetic. You know how to recognize rumination. You know when a conversation is replaying in your head for the 5th time, but you may not recognize that every inner dialogue, every imagined scenario, every invisible defense is an expenditure, a withdrawal from the very energy reserve you need in order to live your own life with any clarity or strength. When you're stuck in a thought loop, it doesn't feel like you're creating something. It feels like you're being ambushed by your own mind, by old dynamics, by a version of someone that still knows exactly how to land a punch. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is you're in a relationship with a mental construction, a version of your ex, your mother, your boss, some distorted fragment of yourself. You've built this figure, this mental effigy, and animated it with your energy. You didn't mean to, but you've given it voice, tone, timing, and bite. It knows your weaknesses, and it talks back. And the worst part, you argue with it like it deserves a seat at the table. You defend yourself against it like it has any actual claim on your attention, but it doesn't. It's not there because it's powerful. It's there because you keep showing up for the conversation. So the next move isn't to argue better. It's to stop showing up. That effigy only persists because you've been paying for the meeting, not in cash, but in energy, in attention, in emotional engagement, and you can stop. Not by fixing the thought, not by convincing it to go away, but by canceling your subscription. Here's a personal example. I had my daughter 6 days before I turned 20. I wasn't married, which didn't matter to me. My generation had long since moved past the scandal of being an unwed mother. My grandmother, who lived in another state and had never even met my daughter, would send me a birthday card every year. Same as always, since I was a little kid. A check for $20 and a letter catching me up on the garden, the dogs, the cousins. I wasn't actually close to her, but I appreciated the ritual. It was sweet, and I did appreciate her effort in keeping a line open between us. Until the year my daughter was born. That birthday, 6 days after I'd given birth to her first great-grandchild, she included a new line at the very end of her letter. I sure hope you won't have any more illegitimate babies. Happy birthday, love you. Hope you don't spawn another bastard. At first, I made excuses, and maybe you've done the same. She's old. She doesn't mean anything by it. Different generation, different world. But no amount of rationalizing softened the feeling of being slapped in the face. Someone just called my beautiful baby girl illegitimate, not legitimate. It took my breath away. And it didn't stop. Oh no, every year, the same note at the bottom of the card. And I'm not ashamed to admit that every year, just before I tore open my birthday card, I had this small, sad hope that maybe this time it would be different. Maybe this time the letter would just be signed, Love Gran. No jab, no curse disguised as a concern. But no, 8 years on, 8 years during which I had no more children in or out of wedlock, and she was still at it. By the time my daughter was 8, I'd had enough. I opened that birthday card, saw the line again, and something in me just stopped playing along. I shredded the check, tossed the letter, and started marking every piece of mail from her, return to sender. Now, that should have been the end of it. But of course, it wasn't. Around my birthday each year, I'd still find myself in a heated internal exchange. Oh, I could smell the oil of Olay. I could see her standing there, arms crossed, wearing her signature pastel silk scarf. I sure hope you won't have any more illegitimate babies. And I'd feel that old surge of rage ignite. The impulse to scream at her, tear her down, win the argument she didn't even know we were having. It felt righteous. It felt sharp. It felt like a full body indictment. But afterward, I didn't feel powerful. I felt poisoned, drained, polluted by the same dynamic I had supposedly shut out. Eventually, I did the only thing that actually works. I didn't forgive her. I didn't spiritually exorcise her. I entirely withdrew my investment. I stopped trying to get the last word. I stopped defending myself to a ghost. Stopped reaching for closure or some kind of satisfying resolution. And that's what ends the loop. Finally refusing to pay the emotional invoice to keep it alive. People think they need to heal the loop to end the loop. Find the core wound, rescript the dynamic, forgive. And that feels noble, complete, spiritually tidy. But you don't need closure to cancel a subscription. You've been subscribing to this internal channel for years, not because you like it, not because it serves you, but because you forgot it was optional. These loops may be started by pain, but they're powered by participation. They stay active because you keep showing up. And here's the thing, it's pay to play. And your attention is the recurring fee, a drain that keeps running as long as you stay subscribed. Control isn't about policing your thoughts. It's about deciding what gets funded, what gets traction, what gets to stay. The most effective thought loops aren't even necessarily the loud ones. They're the ones you justify, the ones you label as normal, necessary, virtuous, even loving. Worry is the most common example. People say, I'm just worried because I love you. But let's be honest, worry is expensive and it rarely buys you anything useful. You could take that same energy and spend it on something that actually helps. A plan, a gesture, a moment of presence. But you don't because you've confused worry with caring or being responsible. Worrying about loved ones demonstrates that you care. Worrying about life circumstances means you're being responsible. These are false equivalencies that we rarely examine or put to a reality test. You've confused emotionally charged thought loops with actually doing something. And this is very common and it's totally wrong. Same with rumination. You tell yourself you're being thoughtful, reflective. Sometimes you even tell yourself you're processing. I did this with my grandmother for years after I stopped speaking to her. That line, I sure hope you don't have any more illegitimate babies, it haunted me. Every year around my birthday, I'd get swept up into a mental monologue. I imagined saying all the things I never said to her in person. It felt righteous, like I was finally taking a stand, like I was metabolizing the rage she'd never had to witness. But I wasn't processing anything. I was reenacting, running energy through a loop I already knew by heart. And that wasn't healing. It was a subscription I kept renewing under the label of self-work. Overthinking works the same way. It feels like diligence, but it's often just fear in a cuter outfit. It's still the subscription model. You're still paying, just with a more legitimate looking invoice. People imagine that withdrawing your energy from a loop will feel powerful, clear, final, successful. It doesn't. At first, it often feels like nothing. No rush, no relief, no closure, just a kind of blank space where the struggle used to be. And that's the moment when most people go back, not because the loop is strong, but because they've mistaken absence for failure. If you're used to loops, even painful ones, there's something comforting about their rhythm. That churn becomes the familiar hum of your inner world. It gives you something to push against. It gives you a role. It gives you a way to raise and discharge your energy. To no good end, I might add, but the truth is most people use every opportunity to get rid of their energy, and we should probably talk about that sometime. So when you stop participating, when you unsubscribe, what you're left with isn't peace, not immediately. What you're left with is the absence of stimulation. And here's something no one tells you. That state, what I call neutrality, isn't automatically satisfying. In fact, it might feel intolerable because getting worked up is addictive. Your nervous system has been trained to run on that level of friction. That background buzz of indignation, defense, anticipation, that's your baseline now. So when the loop goes quiet, your system doesn't feel relief so much as it feels withdrawal. You have to retrain your nervous system to recognize neutrality as normal, as desirable, not merely as the space between perturbations of your energy, not as the nameless pause before the next spiral loads. And until that happens, your system will keep scanning for the next disturbance, the next invitation to re-enter a loop, just to feel alive again, just to maintain that old baseline of familiar energetic exertion. So ending the subscription is essential, but unless you shift your fuel source, your system will keep craving the old fix. And it's not personal, it's physiology. So how do you cancel a subscription? Well, I'll give you an example. Now, this isn't like a visualization exercise. It's not a practice. It's not something you do with music on and candles lit. It's a shift in authorship, a decision about what gets your energy and what doesn't. But the first time you end a subscription, that moment benefits from some additional clarity, from seeing exactly what you've been funding. So here's an example of what you can do. First, you stop and you ask, who am I talking to? What am I reacting to? What am I rehearsing? And then you let it form. Encourage it to take form. Insist that it take form. See the effigy clearly. Whether it's a person, a vision of yourself, a scene, it's something you've been locked into and feeding. Let it come into full color. Let it speak if it's speaking. Let it feel real because it has been real to your system. See it. Know it. Then start removing its reality. Deliberately. Remember, its reality comes entirely from you. You are the one that grants substance to this effigy. Remove its substance. Fade it from full color to gray. See the color draining out of it. Mute its voice. Blur the edges. Let it lose shape, distinction, integration. And finally, remove your last filament of energy from it. It might feel like you're unplugging it from the power source. Watch it collapse. Pixel by pixel, it falls apart without you into fine ash. It will disintegrate because you are no longer holding it together. And what's left is debris. Clear it out in whatever way feels complete to you. You'll know when it's done. And this is a one-time act, not some kind of daily ritual. It's how you end a thought loop subscription. And after that, you just need clarity and consistency. When the loop tries to re-engage, when the effigy stirs or the scene reboots, you don't fuel it. No argument, no defense, no narration. You simply recognize what it is and pull your energy back. Your focus, your attention, your engagement, and then you hold still. Let your system settle into neutral. Feel what that actually is, and allow yourself to accept it as your new baseline, not as the pause between storms, but the neutral space where nothing needs to be managed. This is what sovereignty feels like. You don't need a better argument. You just need to stop showing up for the ones that were never worth having. This is control, self-determination, measured, practiced, and simple. It's the discipline of choosing what gets your attention, what gets to take shape in your inner world, what gets to live in you. And that's self-mastery. The thought isn't the problem. The problem is you've been paying for it, funding it, renewing your subscription every time, and you don't have to anymore. If this resonates and you want to keep going, you'll find more at amarastrand.com, the blog, courses, and the newsletter. You don't need to manage your thoughts. You're here to reclaim your energy and use it for something real. Thanks for spending this time with me. I also have another channel with luscious, binaural, guided meditations. You'll find all the links below. We'll talk again soon.